Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Erica Heald, your content chat host, and it's that time again. You're in for a special treat because I have an evil genius with me today. Ruth Carter, welcome to Content Chat.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice steeple fingers. Love it. Well, before we dig in, one, I'd love for you to tell folks a little about who you are and what you do. And then two, I know you have a really fantastic disclaimer.
That's right. I do come with a disclaimer. All right. For starters, I am Ruth Carter. I am a licensed attorney based out of Phoenix, Arizona. My practice focuses on business, intellectual property, and internet law. And in regards to content marketing, I basically follow all of you people like you around, Erica, and sit back and think about, okay, how many ways could this go wrong, and what do I have to do to keep my friends out of trouble? And somehow that's turned into a career.
That's pretty fun, actually, right? I mean, I guess it would be fun. I think
Yeah.
that content marketers are fun.
Yes, if you all weren't fun, I would not have been doing this for 10 plus years now. And then before I forget, my standard disclaimer: I am an attorney. However, until you are paying me, I am not your attorney. Anything I say on today's chat should be construed as legal information, not legal advice. If you need legal advice, go hire someone. We good?
That sounds good to me. And if you appreciate the information that Ruth shares today, you should donate to the Arizona Basset Hound Rescue. And that's
Thank you.
my PSA. All right. So let's dig in. Everything changes all the time. And even by the time somebody watches this archive a few days from now, there'll probably be new and exciting things. But as it stands, October 7th, 2024, when we're recording this, what are some of the privacy concerns that content marketers need to be aware of? Because I feel like we're in such a different place than when we had this conversation this time last year.
We are and we aren't. So you live in a world where things are going at rocket speed, but the law moves slower than molasses. So we're always trying to figure out, how do old laws apply to new technology?
Mhm.
And privacy has been a hot topic for years. It started with GDPR, and some other countries passing privacy laws. Somehow the US still doesn't have one, but
But
many
California
states,
does.
California does. Many states have passed privacy laws, which, are we allowed to swear on your show?
No, because we do put this on YouTube.
Noted. So it's just a cluster. It is a rat's nest when you're trying to
It's a
crisscross.
fracking mess.
Yes, when you're trying to apply, instead of just like 6 country laws, you're like, "Oh, I have to do 5 countries and 17 states." Great. This is how I make a live. This is why people pay me to write their privacy policies. But so yeah, privacy and AI. Yeah, this is one of those times where I tell people, the terms of service that everyone just clicks the box. Like back in the day, we all signed over our firstborn child to iTunes, once a month.
Mhm.
Those things actually matter. And when it comes to deciding what you're going to use AI for, you need to know what you're giving up by using it. So I haven't read the Chat GPT terms of service in a while, but I did read it before. And it used to say, we can use anything that you input to our AI machine and anything that comes out of our AI machine. We can use it for any purpose, and we may give the same output to multiple people. So you have to be thoughtful about, what do I want to give permission to the AI company to use? And what's the risk that I take by allowing it to manipulate my data? Could I be inadvertently putting my client's confidential information out into the ethos, whatever? Sometimes I have trouble with words.
Into the
And
matrix.
yes. And am I potentially giving my competition a leg up because an AI machine knows what I'm doing for a client? So you have to be thoughtful about that. And I usually tell people who are content marketers, any type of marketing agency, when you're taking on a project and you're having that first meeting with your team about, what are we here to create? Who's going to do what? Have that conversation about what are we going to use AI to create, if anything, and what information needs to stay confidential and for how long. Like if it's a new product launch, you want it to stay confidential until the launch date.
Yep.
And so you look at that and go, okay, well, if we want to use AI, how do we finagle that without inadvertently putting the information that's going to be the big
Yep.
announcement into the AI machine in advance? So you have to think about those types of situations.
Well, this brings up 2 things for me. So the first is maybe 2 weeks ago, Jay Acunzo noted that Microsoft, who owns LinkedIn, which people forget because some of us have been on LinkedIn a long time, they rolled out a change where they opted everybody in to allowing Microsoft's AI machine to use all of our personal posts, DMs, etc. We all had to go and click to opt out, and they don't make it real easy to find the place deep in their settings where you do this. So that was one thing, is I feel like we keep being opted into things, which frankly is one of many reasons that I did finally delete all of my X accounts. Even though I realize that puts me at risk of people taking up those handles and being gross later. It just, it felt grosser to stay. Um, but then also the other thing that this brings up is I have a client who I just helped them write for their website an AI policy that details both how their employees use AI, but importantly, because they are a huge professional development and training company, putting out there how you can't take their copyright, their intellectual property, and put it into the AI machine, because if you do, you will be violating the licenses that you have purchased from them for using the content. So I would love to kind of chat with you about both of these, because these are just like such right now, such topical things that I think we're going to keep seeing happening.
Definitely. And Jay Acunzo, love him. Yeah, no, so often the default is you are opted in and you have to go click the box to opt out. And it would be one thing where if they use it and like have to give you credit, like
Hmm.
that would be great. But I don't know, but I assume that that's not the case. And so this is about them benefiting from your content, not them promoting you because,
Right. They don't quote you with a citation and a link
right,
back.
right, that would be great, but that's not going to happen. One thing that's important for people to remember, there is no copyright in fact. So, 1 plus 1 is always 2. 2 plus 2, no, I say 1 plus 1 is fish, but that's an improv thing. 2 plus 2 is always 4, not 5 for the Trekkies out there. So yeah, so if all you're taking from somebody is facts and putting that in an AI machine and say, how do I say this in a way that fits with, this flavor of voice, like my out of office email auto replies, I will tell ChatGPT, write it in the style of an evil villain. And then I edit it to my liking and then I use it. So, um, yeah, there's no real fact in I'm not here. I'm coming back on, a future date. Same thing. If all you're doing is copying from somebody factual information, there's no copyright. There's copyright in expression, original expression, fixed in a tangible medium. That's what you need for a copyright. So, um, I think it's very cool that somebody put that in their policy. You're not allowed to use our stuff. You're not granted a license, or you will be in violation if you take our stuff and put it in the AI machine. Because what you're doing at that point, assuming there's a copyright to be had in the original, is making an unauthorized derivative
Derivative work.
work
Yeah.
of, using the AI machine. Now, if they created their content from, the AI machine, then there is no copyright unless you live in one of 5 countries where it is protected by copyright. That's a cluster that's gonna happen. Fun times. Um, so yeah, but I do appreciate that they have an AI policy. Probably every company should have an AI policy. There should be that dialogue between employees and employers about what AIs they are allowed to use and for what purposes. Because I remember our friend Andrew Davis was on stage, I think last year, and
Yeah.
said 70% of people use AI and their bosses, they haven't disclosed that to their boss.
Yeah.
So and there should be the discussion of what do we use AI for? Why do we use it? What don't we do with it? Um, after attending one of these conferences, I was having the thought of how much should companies be using AI to manipulate people? Are you putting people over profit versus providing them value? And that happens to lead to income for you. I support that, not manipulating people into giving you money for stuff they don't need. So those are all things companies should discuss before they start looking into what are our AI options based on our needs and how do we decide which one or ones that we want to use. Um, Another thing I tell companies when they are trying to make that decision is there a way to test drive an AI without using real client data? So, like, you have a dummy client, a made up company that you can use that. And it doesn't matter if the AI machine has a copy of it because it's either fake or you got it from a public source, like if you decided to treat like a government agency where all
Yeah.
government content is copyright, goes to public domain immediately. You can use that. Or if you want to have fun with it, use a product or a company that no longer exists. If you're a marketer, like take the original lawn darts and use that and be like, tell it. Let's come
Slip
up with
and
a
slide.
ex- slip and slide doesn't exist anymore.
Those are too dangerous. You know that. Come on. Lawn darts and slip and slides.
Okay, lawn darts, yes, because like those are javelins, but slip and slide.
They have like a version that's not very slippy. You don't attach a hose to it. There's no, way that you're going to break any limbs.
As long as you got to make sure that the ground you put it on doesn't have any rocks.
Yeah,
Um,
and that you're not going towards a tree.
Yes, I mean, that's called being a parent. Um, no,
What's that?
I don't know, I didn't
I
procreate,
didn't have
but
supervision as a child. I just don't know.
I do know that parent is a verb. So, yes, but
I
there's
love all
also
those suggestions because, it can be fun to use, an exaggerated or fake client. Because I would even do that when I would be testing things like doing print on demand with customization, just to do something fun. I would have like my cat would be one of the 401k enrollment participants because, then you notice the places where, Fluffy's name is turning up. You actually notice it and you're like, yes, personalization worked correctly here.
there you go. I like that. I would be an excellent thing to do. Use if you need like, you know, a fake list, okay, everyone, what's the name of your pet? And we're gonna just, Fluffy, Fido, Bella, whatever. Perfect.
Kupo is here for that. He says that sounds really cool. So those are kind of like the things that really have popped up for me recently around, AI and privacy. But I'm wondering what are some of the other things maybe that you've seen that, we should also be looking out for or anticipating coming our way?
I think it goes like hand in hand with some of the things that have come out through some of the privacy laws. So when you are given personal information from your client, it should include instructions as to what you should be doing with it, including with AI. And so that way you are, to a degree, putting the onus on your client to have that level of protection of, okay, these are your do's and don'ts. That doesn't take your responsibility completely away. You still have to apply common sense, reasonableness, things that you would think everyone would have, um, but to put it on them of like, okay, like you are entrusting us, and you have to tell us, you have to attest that all this information was legally obtained, and in the event that we are accused of wrongdoing because of what you told us to do with it, you are responsible and will reimburse us for our attorney's fees and any um you know um any damages assessed against us because we did what you asked us to do.
Do we
So,
add this as like a writer to our creative briefs? Like when we're doing our intake meetings and we say, all right, here's what we discussed and decided we're gonna do. Cause I'm
yes,
like, that to me is like where that feels like that would fit in.
that's exactly where that fits in. I work with a company where they do a lot of emailing for events. So like they get the list of these are the people who are coming to our event. You're going to be sending out the emails to them about the event that they have signed up to attend. And so, and they have no idea where these names came from, what
Yeah.
country the recipients are in. So, different privacy laws may apply. And so, you have to kind of fold all those things into the overall package of what you're doing. And because a lot of what we do involves software and algorithms that we don't control, I tell people if you don't have a good force majeure provision in your contract, you need to add that in, also known as the no guarantees clause. So that way, in the event that the AI that you've been using and is doing a ton of stuff for you suddenly goes offline, or a server crashes, or somebody gets hacked, or there's a ransomware thing that, and so you're dead in the water in terms of this client, um, or suddenly the algorithm changes and so you were ranking really high and suddenly you're not ranking at all. It's like, hey, that was out of our control. And
Yeah.
so it's, usually it's fault. People will write it as, we're not responsible for things outside of our control, including but not limited to fire, flood, strike, government shutdowns, zombie apocalypse, acts of God, acts by other deities, hangovers, hangnails, whatever. I one time while I was doing a swim workout, I was just alone with my thoughts for way too long, and I came up with how many things might someone put in this part of a contract. So the list got long.
That's hilarious. You know, your example about the company that does like events marketing, events emailing is a good one too, because pretty much every year, a couple of times around big events like HR Tech, but also big marketing events, I get those cold emails saying, "Hey, you want to buy a list, an email list?" And I always mark it as spam, which I always feel like is me doing my civic duty.
Yep.
But obviously, people buy those email lists and then send emails to them, and that feels like that's just really a huge legal problem waiting to happen.
In some countries, it is illegal. In other ones, eh, you know, like lots of places in the US, it's still legal. But yeah, if you have to buy a list to be successful, you're doing something very wrong in your business. So no, don't buy a list. Period. I even think the way that companies who are vendors at these big events are often doing it wrong
Mhm.
because they you meet a bunch of people at the event, you walk up to their table to say hi because you want a piece of candy, you want to play their game, whatever your reason. They scan your badge, they automatically put you on their mailing list.
Yeah.
It's like a good chance I'm not your customer, but what you did is you annoyed me, and so the chance of me hiring you when I need you has gone down because you've demonstrated that you're annoying. So like versus um doing a message to them after the event saying, "So great you stopped by. this is what we offer, on our, through our email. Do you want to sign up? Are you going
Yep.
to get fewer people on your list? Yes. Are you going to get a higher quality of people on your list that are a better fit for you?
Heck yeah.
Yes. So I think the metrics need to change in terms of what really matters for the business, in terms of getting in front of the people who want to ultimately give you money.
And it is interesting because so many companies pay a bunch of money to get that list of everybody they scan in their booth, but they don't do what to me was always the basics when I was in house and working, for companies that were going to these events, which is you have that custom message tailored to who the audience is of that event. Thank them for attending. You serve up your best content related to them and their needs in that event, and then you invite them to keep in touch, or let them know, let how we
Mhm.
can help, and you get such a better opt-in and engagement rate by being helpful, which is what content marketing is supposed to be. It's helpful.
Exactly, and I think you hit the nail on the head. The engagement rate is gonna matter way more than how many people are on your list, or, even, like, what's your open rate.
Yeah, I want to know how many people actually found something to be useful, used it, shared it with somebody else. Like that is how you're doing a good job, because that's how you also then get those referrals that turn into clients that turn into money in your pocket.
Right, because chances are I will just have you marked as spam so that you will continue to send me emails, but I will never see them, because I'm just thinking, I will happily run up your bill for your email newsletter service, MailChimp, Constant Contact, whatever, because they bill that based on the size of your list. So it's like, yeah, fine, keep paying for somebody who's never going to give you money.
Yep, like the person who, after I had Andy Christina on, sent me an email saying, "Has content chat fallen off of LinkedIn? I noticed your latest post just didn't get any engagement." And I'm like, "Uh, you're trying to market to me?" The best part, the person was trying to market to me LinkedIn marketing services, and they don't have any kind of a profile on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, they did not do their homework, and I'm gonna guess they bought a list.
Ugh, goodness, yeah, I mean, and sometimes I will just mess with those people to be like, "Did you do, like, no homework on me? Like, you are wasting your time if it looks like that you just bought a list and it was like, 'Hey, I do this.'" It's like, "No."
Or maybe they, saw me speak at an event and they were excited and hoping that their really terrible email would eventually end up on a slide at an event as an example of things that don't make me happy. Didn't
How is that good for business for them?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. But
I'm
they must have had a reason.
I don't know. I mean, yes, like, some boss told them to do it, but beyond that, I don't know.
Well, one of the other things I know you've been talking about recently is the Corporate Transparency Act. And since we do have a number of content chat community members who run their own businesses that are content adjacent, I figured we should definitely go into this for a little bit, because until you started talking about it, I had not heard about it. And its deadline for compliance is ASAP. So let's dig in.
Yeah, no, this is definitely, it's a newish law that no one's talking about, but it impacts like 30 million, 33 million small businesses in the US. So the purpose of this law is to prevent people from hiding behind shell companies to do bad things. So if your company has a business entity that has to be filed with your state, like a corporation, LLC, a partnership, whatever, you have to file something with your state to exist, and you have 19 full-time employees or less, you have to file your beneficial owners information report with the federal government by the end of the year. Um, And then it goes into, okay, what is a beneficial owner? That is not a word that existed before this law. So it's the people who have substantial control over the company or own 25% or more. So that could be owners, but that's probably anybody whose title begins with chief. Chief financial officer, chief operations officer, chief happiness officer, all those people, probably your in-house counsel if you have one. And there's even, it could even be somebody who's not employed or officially an owner, but they have substantial control because they're the puppeteer controlling the marionettes. So you have to tell the government their legal name, where they live, and you have to provide a copy of either their unexpired driver's license or passport or other state ID. Um, and yeah, some people might, since we're talking about privacy, some people may say, I don't want to give up that information. That's private. You're filing it with the federal government. It's stuff they already know about you. They already know where you live. They're just putting the names with, connecting it to the company. You also have to tell them where your company operates from. So if you're somebody who your official company address is a box at a UPS store, but your real operations is off your dining room table, you got to give them you got to say the company's address is your home address. Good news. This is not a public database. It's only going to the feds. Hopefully they have proper security in place so that that's not going to get hacked. And so everybody has to get theirs filed by the end of the year. It's not too bad. Like I've done it. I did it for my 2 companies. I did it for the 2 companies that I work closely with. It's not rocket science, but it has to get filed. And if you don't, the penalties are really stiff. But if any of the information about your owners or the company changes, you have to file a whole new report. So if one of your owners moves, their home address changes, or they renew their driver's license, so there's a new expiration date, you have to file not just that little section of the report, the whole report within 30 days of that changing. And how you're going to keep track of, okay, who are all these people and how do we know, do we have to send a monthly email of hey, did anyone move? Did anyone's driver's license change? I don't know how we're going to keep track of all that.
It seems like it's going to be pretty onerous.
It could be.
Although the government has some sort of not real ID, but I can't remember what it was called, but they have some sort of technology, at least that the IRS uses, that is supposed to cut down on some of the stuff and make your information more secure. Maybe it will eventually hook in with that. So that way, whenever you update your information there, then it could update other places.
That would be nice, but I
Probably won't happen, but
probably won't happen. The government's not even known for having the most user-friendly websites, so I'm not holding my breath. It could be an opportunity for a company to create some software where it automatically pings everybody, and there's a system set up, or it knows, okay, you have 6 beneficial owners. We know whose driver's license is going to expire first, so we know to ping that person 30 days before that.
yeah.
Hey, how's that going? Because me as just a lowly lawyer, not a programmer, barely a marketer, all I knew to do for my clients was create a spreadsheet for them with all the pertinent information, and I just turned the box of the first person's whose driver's license expires, I just turned it yellow. And then when I emailed them back to say I filed your beneficial owner's information report, FYI, the first person whose driver's license is going to expire is this person, and here's the month and year for that. But if somebody, moves, because, people do that because they're humans, they just change addresses. I don't know if there is a way to catch that besides just regular follow-up with that group, group chat and be like, "Yoo-hoo, anyone move?" So, I mean, besides putting it like in your company contract of you are obligated to inform us, within 10 days that you have changed your address.
Yeah.
And that could be something if you're big enough to have an HR and you update, where you're I don't it's been so long since I've worked for a company. I'm an independent contractor. I don't have to do that stuff. But I know that there is such things as HR. I used to get in trouble with them regularly, where if your information changed, you would tell them and they did whatever they did with it. It could be something with them where it's like, hey, if you update your information, they immediately ping the higher up to say, you may, this person changed, you have to go file your, an updated report.
Does
Um,
this apply to nonprofits as well, or just to for-profit small businesses?
if, as I understand it, if you have your like 501c3 letter from the IRS, then you are exempt.
Okay.
The one question I need to look up, because one of my clients is a church. Churches are exempt from becoming official 501c3. It's just assume that you're a nonprofit.
Mhm.
And so I need to check to see if people in that situation have to either have to go get your 501c3 or you have to file the report.
Yeah, because I know, with my nonprofit hat on, because I did work for a 501(c)(3), just in general, nonprofits have a tendency to have a lot of turnover and people move a lot, and so I could see how if a nonprofit had to be filing this kind of paperwork, you could be filing every month.
Fun. I mean, the good news, good news, people like me, yay, repeat business. But benefit to the client, there is no filing fee to file this report. But one thing to remember is this is due by the end of the year. So I predict two things are going to happen. One, it's going to be kind of like when healthcare.gov went live and then immediately crashed because everyone was doing it all when you jumped on at the same time. I could totally see the FinCEN. FinCEN stands for the Federal Agency Financial Criminal Enforcement Network. Their website's going to crash because everyone's trying to file at the same time, while simultaneously a lot of people take vacation between Christmas and New Year's.
Yep.
And so you're going to be trying to track down your beneficial owners who are on vacation. Like, they could be in Hawaii or the Caribbean or on a cruise. And you're like, can I get a picture of your driver's license? Thanks. So, yeah. So I'm telling everybody, unless someone's information is going to change between now and the end of the year, like someone has a move coming up or something like that, where it makes sense to wait, just file it. And you absolutely can do it yourself. I put a blog post on geeklawfirm.com that includes the video that I did not create, so I'm not promoting myself. It's the video that I used to walk me through my first filing so I wouldn't screw it up. So
I love that. So, yeah, just oh my goodness.
yeah,
It's
but like
always
nine
something.
nine out of 10 companies that I talk to have no idea that this is even on the horizon. And the penalties, if you don't file, it doesn't go against the company, it goes against the individuals who should have filed.
Whew.
Yeah. And it's like hundreds of dollars a day, which one day is
Adds up
fine,
quickly.
but it adds up very quickly.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you shared that, and we'll make sure to get the URL for that blog post and include it in the recap on our blog, so that way folks can take a look at it. I will note that you can now renew your passport completely online. So if you need to get that done in order to comply with this, I did it the first day it was available, and I've already gotten my updated passport back, which was
How
way
long did that
faster.
take?
It was, like, between 2 and 3 weeks,
Did you
which
did you have
not
to still send them
expedited.
your old one?
No.
Because
They, they just have you, just don't use it anymore. It's, invalid as soon as you enter in to renew. But they have you take a picture,
Mhm.
send it in. I took a selfie using portrait mode on my iPhone and they accepted that. And, not in this room, obviously. This is not a plain, plain white background kind of a
Right.
space. But I was really impressed. I was like, well, normally I'd have to go to Walgreens and they'd take the world's worst photo of me because they're always like, okay, now can you put your hair behind your ears? And okay, they'd be like, you got to look really.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah,
so it
there is
always
a rule, you're not allowed to smile in your passport photo,
you
which is
can't
really hard,
smile.
when you're trying to, like, get it, a picture of a baby sometimes, because it's what they do.
Maybe you pinch the baby.
Oh god.
I mean,
Yeah, no, but how great it is that you can just lay your baby on a nice white sheet, just get your camera. You don't have to do a whole to-do to go to the Walgreens and whatever, so
exactly. So it was amazing. I was thrilled that it was so easy.
nice.
So,
Good to know.
well, we've covered email and privacy and AI. What else? That can't be all that we need to be thinking about. There's got to be more stuff that we content marketers need to be worried about in these times.
In these times, these
That's
dark
that's by the way,
times.
that's the real tell that something's been written by AI is when it's in these uncertain times, because in these uncertain times is something that AI is really interested in.
Goodness. I and apparently I've been told that, like, marketers aren't asking about copyright, but I'm like, I trust me, people are putting things into the AI machine and they don't own it. And if you are a marketer creating for somebody else, they need to know what is and is not AI created. And so, because if they are somebody who is very protective of their work, or if this
Yeah.
is something that's going to be registered because it's going to be used in a book or might eventually be used for something, you need to know. So you either know that whether or not you need to be protecting it, or disclaiming it if you are putting it in for a registration. So, and
Like, people are making AI images, which is cool, but I feel like, Christopher Penn and I are the only 2 people I regularly see have a caption that says, "This image was created by whatever tool." I'm
right.
seeing a lot of images that when I ask people, I go, "Oh, that's really cool. I'm liking these images on your post." And they're like, "Oh, thanks. I made it with AI." And I'm like, "Then you don't own that, and you should disclose that it was made with AI, because was your entire post made with AI?" 'Cause
Well,
once
and
you don't disclose one thing,
right.
then I think, people get a little suspicious. Maybe just me.
It could be just you, but I think paranoid is, kind of sexy. So rock on. Um, yeah. Well, I also would ask, okay, well, what did you put into the AI machine? Is it something you created, or did you steal it off the internet? And you're still going to be accused of copyright infringement, because I still deal with people all the time who they get the letter of, hey, you stole our image, you stole our picture, here's your bill, or we're going to sue you if you don't pay us. And I will ask my client, where did this photo come from? Oh, I just did a Google search.
Mhm.
Like,
Or, like, if
no.
I decided I wanted to, rent out this room and we called it the Hello Kitty Airbnb suite, then I would get a, cease and desist from Mattel, and I would deserve it.
No, because somebody else owns Hello Kitty. But yes, you
Oh,
would.
that's right,
And
Sanrio.
Sanrio. And one of my clients has actually gotten that letter before. So it does, yes, there are some people who are very protective of their IP. And I've seen that. People don't understand the difference between, you can buy this for personal
Personal.
enjoyment, but you cannot have the Hello Kitty suite in your Airbnb. So, because I know there is like a superhero Airbnb in my city, where like every bedroom is like a different theme. There's like the Iron Man room and the Superman room and the Hulk room, and
You would have to license that or work with the brand, and it would have to be something like you're an influencer or they thought it was a really fun tie-in. Like, you can't just do that.
right, or at least legally. You can do anything you want, but just not
You can do it until
legal.
you get caught.
Exactly, and then I hope you have a good rainy day fund, because Some of these companies, like I'm thinking Disney, is lawyered up, and they are
Yep.
very protective of their IP. So and if you are somebody who outsources the creation of your content, um, then you need to be careful about what they're allowed to do with it. But also think about the worst case scenario. Like, let's say you outsource part of your creation to, or image locate, finding images to a virtual assistant in a country that's very far away from you, like the Philippines or Malaysia or
Yep.
Bangladesh, or those are all places that are very far away from me. And you tell them, they sign a contract that says, yes, I will create only original content for you, or I will only pull images from sources that I have permission to use them for. Um, and let's say they lied and you use it. You give it to your client uses it, and they get in trouble. Well, they're going to turn around and come after you.
Yeah.
And if you've written your contract right, you would be able to turn around and go after the person who created it. But if
Good
they're
luck.
in Bangladesh, you could sue them, and their contract could say, "Yeah, I'm going to sue you, in my city where I live, and you're going to be responsible for all my attorney's fees that I've had to incur going after you." However, how are you going to serve them? And even let's say you did serve them, let's say they don't show up, so you just win on default. How are you going to collect?
Yep.
So I tell people, okay, play that tape forward, best case scenario, worst case scenario, and make sure everything makes sense for you and your business. And do you need to have protocol policies in place? Like if they're pulling images for you, um, they have to also provide the URL where they got it. So in the event that you need to spot check, you can do that. Um, I know there is software that claims that they can identify if something is or is not AI generated, but I recently
Baloney.
saw something that said that's full of crap. So I I heard it from somebody. I believe I heard it from Chris Penn, actually.
Yes.
So he knows his stuff. So I believe that he got that information from a legit source. I
AI
haven't
detector
verified it
said that
myself.
the Declaration of Independence was AI generated. So that shows you how good they are.
Okay. Well, that actually kind of ties into a good tip to remember if you are working with AI. AI is only as good as its programming and what it was trained with. And some of this AI, some of these big AI companies that are currently being sued for copyright infringement just scraped the internet. And
And there's a lot of not truth stuff on the internet.
there is so much not true stuff on the internet. So yeah, you gotta think about those things. And
And you
I've
gotta
actually,
put, really good prompts together where you give the AI the parameters. You help the AI understand, you don't just say cite your sources. You
right,
say the kinds of sources I'm looking for are, and you give them things like,
right,
reputable business schools like Harvard Business.
right.
You spell it out because the more you can be detailed and the better framework you give the AI, the better quality you're going to get back in the first place. So then you're not going to end
Yes.
up in some of those situations.
Also, check the sources, because do you remember last year there was a lawyer who submitted a filing to the court, and they had some AI, I think it was ChatGPT,
Yeah.
write it for them. And the lawyer asked ChatGPT, are these real sources? And it said, yes, they are. And this lawyer got in trouble because they were citing cases that don't exist.
Yeah.
So,
They sounded truthy to the AI and they made up, citation URLs that are formatted the way that they would be if it had been a thing. Yeah.
yeah, no. And I've heard that people are using AI as a search engine, like instead of
Hmm.
going to Google, they're going to ChatGPT. And it's happening to the point where I'm having to tell people, just like I've had to tell people, your Google search is not a substitute for my law degree. Your AI query is not a substitute for my law degree. I had a client come to me a few months ago claiming that they were wronged by a website. And they said, well, ChatGPT said I can, go after them for this, this, and this. I was like, no, you can't. Like that's not a thing. Um, and they could not get off of that. They're like, oh no, ChatGPT said. I was like, no, ChatGPT lies. Um, they even admit that they lie. Like they don't say it in such blunt terms,
Their
but
hallucinations happen.
yeah, but they'll say like, we can, check the information. We do not verify that everything that we create is accurate. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so
it's similar, or it makes me go into the thinking about too that frequently people are trying to get something for free. And so they're using AI tools to get something for free. But you're always paying for something. You're either paying by having a subscription to a tool where you pay money and maybe then you're paying for that privacy of your data or your output, or you're paying with your data and input into the system. And you have to always like weigh that, because if you're going to be concerned that you're not going to have the ability to trademark that, content, to own that stuff from an IP standpoint, then you have to do things like have your contractors be given a seat in your stock photo licensed content library. You have to give them a seat in your enterprise level version of Chat GPT that has your proprietary content in it, where it doesn't go out to anywhere else for them to do some of their work. Because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for that situation where the lines are going to get crossed.
right,
So the easiest way is to enable them proactively.
right. I will say, I applaud people who are trying to protect information by using the enterprise level or having some type of closed AI, so it's kept separate from the other information that they got from who knows where. Um, However, I will say along those lines, when you are deciding which one you want to use, again, read the fine print. Where is that content going to be stored? What type of security measures do they have in place? Because
Yeah.
even if it's not intermixing with other content, it still could be susceptible to something bad happening. From what I heard through what I saw through the Google machine, I asked, can AI be hacked? Google says yes, it can.
Yeah.
And so it's not just other people getting your data as a result of just using the AI software, but it's also bad people could be trying to hack into the system to get your data. And so you've got to think of
Or even
all
just
those things.
curious people
Sure.
could get your data because somebody in your organization accidentally put it in. Because I mean, I certainly do competitor research. And when I'm looking, to help a client understand what their competitor's content strategy is, I will go in and, give the AI machine some information about who those competitors are, their URLs, and I'll ask it to go out and tell me what their content strategy is and to give me, cite it and links.
Mhm.
And it does a really good job. And you don't know when you're presenting that, you don't know how much of that information it got from public data, public sources, and how much of it learned because somebody said, hey, how do I make this content strategy document look impressive as a slide deck for my boss? You don't
Right.
know.
Exactly. Yes. And I had a thought. Um,
And yes, I disclose to my clients that I use the AI to do that because I'm like, I validate it, I fact check it, I have the screenshots. I'm like,
yes.
but I ask the AI because I'm not going to go and look at every, industry event website for the past 5 years to see if these folks have been a sponsor or not, because AI can do that by me hitting a button.
Right. I mean, unless they want to pay you your hourly rate to do that, then sure, why not? But no, absolutely. And to be, yes, you do disclose that to your clients and why you do it. Like, okay, I could do this through AI in 30 seconds. It knows all, it'll give me all this, or you can charge me my hourly rate for 5 hours and I will do all that research for you. Which would you prefer? Or
And
you
people
tell them
almost
this is
always
this is
choose the hitting the AI button.
yeah, exactly. But one other thing that I have thought of, what I did when I started looking into privacy and I took our friend Paul Rotzer's book on using AI for marketing and just thought about how many ways could all this go wrong. And so from a legal perspective, and so my margins of that book are just covered with, you know, bad things. But it's a fantastic book. Um, One thing that makes me nervous is when AI is the one making the decision for you. And because I prefer that AI makes recommendations and
Yeah.
then a human make the decision as to what they do with that suggestion. But sometimes there is reason to use AI for like a chat bot or something like that where it is kind of running its own show. Is there some type of emergency stop button? So that way, if something goes sideways, whether the algorithm gets messed with or the chatbot software gets hacked or
Yeah.
whatever, um, that you don't have the Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice situation where everything went haywire, um, and it goes out of control and you burn everything to the ground. Is there a way that you can step in an emergency situation and say, AI stop?
Yep.
Like I tell my Google Home, stop. Um, so Siri, whatever, Alexa. I'm sorry, I just made everyone's machines light up. Ha ha. So yeah, if the AI is running its own show because that makes sense for that company, do you have the emergency system in place that you can pull the plug and say like, and you're done, because you are malfunctioning right now.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I have to ask, everybody's always running around feeling like they have too much to do and not enough time. But from your personal and professional perspectives, what is the one thing, if content marketers don't do anything else between now and the end of the year, what is the one thing they should spend those extra couple of hours that they will inevitably have while waiting for somebody to approve something else? Because that's where we marketers usually have spare time. What is the one thing that they should make, prioritize doing in order to decrease the likelihood that they're going to have um, legal issues and the need to call an evil genius such as yourself?
Two thoughts. One, plan ahead. Don't just ready, fire, aim. It's like new thing. Let's do it. Like rein it back in. Think about it. And you think about what you want to do. What's the goal? What's the worst case scenario? What's in the best interest of your clients? What don't you want to set them up for? What kind of bad things do you not want to have happen? Because it's going to come back on you. Because I will tell you, with AI, all those terms of service do say we are not responsible for the output or what you do with it.
Yep.
So if something goes sideways, it is going to come back on you. Um, and I would say hire a lawyer for an hour and say we want to talk about what risks are we taking, what things should we be avoiding, how can we set ourselves up to not have to call me down the line because things have gone sideways.
Yep.
I will tell you, in the 10 plus years I've been a lawyer, it has always been easier and cheaper to prevent problems than to fix them.
It's the old ounce of prevention being so much more valuable than that pound of cure.
Exactly.
Love it. Well, where can people find out more about you and read more of your musings? And where are you speaking? I know you're speaking at some stuff coming up, so spill it. Give us
All
the
right.
whole spiel.
Whole spiel. Okay. If you want to hear from me from a business perspective as a professional, LinkedIn is probably your best place to find me. The advantage of having an old lady name is there's not too many of us, so easy to find. If you want to just see anything that I'm creating and putting out into the world, including copious pictures of my dog, I'm on Instagram. My handle is undeniable Ruth, one word. Geeklawfirm.com is probably the best place to see my blogs. And then where can you see me in the flesh? I will be at Content Marketing World this month. So
Coming up
October 21st is the first day of that event. So I will be there
in
21st,
2 weeks
22nd,
from
23rd.
today.
Oh my God, I have to write a packing list. Yes, I am excited. Lucy Jane, my dog, is coming with me. Yes, you can pet her. So that is actually the only place I am going this fall.
That is amazing.
I know.
Well, we can't wait to see you and Lucy Jane in San Diego for Content Marketing World. And hopefully, we'll be seeing a lot of our content chat folks there as well. So be looking for me because I will be totally following around and fangirling Lucy because we're BFFs.
You are.
We totes bonded in Boston, in particular at Marketing Profs. So it should be a good time.
Always.
Ruth, thank you so much for this super fun and informative, spending an hour with us. I hope it's given folks a lot of food for thought because to your point, it's so important to think about all the things that can go wrong and just try to keep them from happening or know what you're going to do if they do go wrong. Having those plans in place, totally
Yes.
so important. So
Yes,
thank
flow
you.
charts are your friend. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
All right. And we will not see everybody next week because it is a holiday. It's the Indigenous Peoples Day, and we will not be here. We will be nursing a hangover from Aftershock, where we're spending the weekend. But we will be back the week after that. So take care, everybody. Bye, guys.